I am here with Rose Cholewinski. She's a level two ASCA certified coach and the owner of SwimAmerica Davis. So, Rose, can you introduce yourself a bit and tell me about your swimming background?
Yeah, so my name is, like you said, is Rose Cholewinski. I'm the proud owner of a SwimAmerica program in Davis, California, which is in Northern California. We are in our own standalone facility with nice warm water at 89 degrees. We see probably about 1,000 children a week. We're open 7 days a week, and we have about 60 staff members. My swimming background stems from a longtime swimmer in Illinois. And I actually started late. I started at 8 years old and was driving or not driving, riding my bike past a pool. And I saw all this excitement. And so I wanted to check it out. And my mom signed me up for a swim team. And I haven't looked back. It has been just an incredible experience. And my strokes when I was growing up and then in high school was butterfly and breaststroke. So I'm our short access stroke people. I didn't swim in college. I kind of was done with swimming after high school. And I returned back to swimming when I moved to California from Illinois and started swimming masters where I now enjoy long distance swims. I've done the Alcatraz swim, the Trans
Ooh.
Tahoe relay a few times. I swim masters 3 times a week, and I currently got my United States Master Swimming Adult Learn to Swim certification. So excited about continuing my interest in people learning how to swim and reaching adults now too. So I'm going to go from babies to adult and looking forward to having that part of my program grow.
Yeah, that's exciting. Can you tell me a bit more about the Master's Learn to Swim certification you just did?
Yeah, so we went to Southern California, and Bill Brenner, who spoke at our Swim America conference, he was there running a certification program to help pretty much master swimmers share their love for swimming by teaching adults who don't know how to swim. So it was a series of, different information about adults and working with fears and some of those things that we take for granted when we
Mhm.
get in and think, okay, just start blowing bubbles. Well, there are so many people who just don't know how to do that and what the comfort level is. So I'm just excited about working with adults in our community in swimming.
Yeah, that was really cool. Can you tell me a bit more about your community at World Clinic? We taught you during your program, you talked about this amazing community you have out in Davis. Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah. So we've earned a very strong reputation in our community, and our families continue to refer other families to us for quality swimming lessons. And those referrals are earned. We
Mhm.
work on our reputation every single day, and our core purpose in our business is to make Swim America the best part of your day. And so we work on, like I said, our reputation, the quality of our swimming lessons. And so we give back to our community, and we also do that in ways like over the years, we've been in a position to contribute to schools through auction donations, water safety presentations, holding water safety carnivals. We created an 8-week program with our local Rotary organization for children who are in the area with lots of water, but no real opportunities to learn to swim. And also, I feel like as a business in our community, we need to take some responsibility for sustainability. So we really focus on recycling, which is aside from swimming, but just as good humans and helping
Definitely.
preserve our climate or our just our planet. We don't do any one-use bottles here. So in our vending machine, we have water bottles for sale, and we do big recycling. And then just getting back to giving back to our community, we donate almost $100,000 in swim lessons for children that include swimming lessons, donations, and sponsorships in our community. So we love our community and our community loves us.
That's incredible. How do you run your donation program? Do people like register or like put in their name, or how do you decide who gets to be a part of this?
So we work with Hope Floats, which is an organization that works with us for our families to apply directly to them, and they vet the families to make sure that they meet some qualifications in terms of need. And so once that need is identified, then we have fundraised for our bucket that we feed into Hope Floats, and that money comes right back to us in swim lessons. So they get
Okay, at the World Clinic, you talked about your continuous interviewing process. Can you tell me and our listeners about that?
yeah. So we feel that once somebody is hired, we have
Mhm.
them go through an onboarding process where they learn about our core purpose and our core values and our culture here. And then once they're in the water and they start doing shadowing, they do several hours. I think it's almost 20 additional hours on top of the Swim America curriculum. They're in the water and they shadow, and then right at the end, it's called You Got This. And so we watch them in a swim lesson. And then after that, we decide whether or not they get the stamp of approval to start teaching on their own. And if they feel like they need some additional help in some of the upper stations, or they don't feel comfortable with the younger children, we'll either decide they can continue doing more swim training, or we will find out if it's a good fit for them. Because sometimes they go through the program and they're like, wow, this is a lot, and they just
Definitely.
self-select out, which is great. It's not that they're a bad person. It just is, this is not a fit. And we want to be really, really transparent about what our expectations are and what we expect when they're in the water, and then have that conversation to say, yes or no. Do you want to move forward, or do you want to opt out? And they get paid for all of it. And it's like $500, to train someone,
Mhm.
well worth every cent, because we know if they get the stamp of approval, they're ready to swim. And then they, of course, get continuous training throughout the year and throughout their employment. But the continuous interview basically means they are constantly interviewed, how they interact with the children, what they say, what their demeanor is, what their interest is, what their energy is. So that's a continuous interview while they're doing their online certification and also their in-water shadowing.
Okay, so they can do this simultaneously with their online training.
Absolutely, yeah. They
Okay.
actually go through that training before they get in the water.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
are some of the expectations you have for your coaches in the water?
So first and foremost, safety first and always. Eyes on your children all the time, making sure they're the first ones in and the last ones out. Their children know exactly where to get out of the pool and where to go. Energy, they need to bring energy. And I'm not talking about like cheerleaders all the time, but somebody who is going to be focused on their children during their lesson, making sure they understand the 4 competitive strokes and the purpose of us doing our jump-ins at the end,
Hmm.
and just eye contact. And we kind of talk to them about they're on stage when they're
Hmm.
in the water. And so
Definitely.
what are they acting like? What are people seeing? And sometimes we'll actually snap a picture of them from the viewing area to take a picture, because if we say, you need to smile a little bit more, it doesn't look like you're having fun, and we snap a picture and they look like, they're dazed and confused, that's what you look like to the parents.
Hmm.
More importantly, that's what you look like to the kids. So we really try to make sure that they're fully engaged and playful. That's one of our core values, is to play with purpose. And so we want them to play with their kids and make sure that it's fun.
Yeah. What are some of the, you mentioned like continuous training throughout their employment. What do you do to continually train your instructors?
So we have an in-water training once a month, and we have an all-staff meeting once a quarter. And in the water training, the once a month training, kind of depends on what our aquatics lead is seeing in terms of what the need is. Sometimes it's about class management. So we'll do some training on class management. Sometimes it's on holds when they're doing a back float or how they do a side breath. And so we just continuously watch our classes to make sure we're aware of what we might need in that training. And then we focus that training on that. And then there's, of course, time for them to ask questions
Mm,
about teaching, because you can learn all this stuff online. You can look at somebody else's class, but it really doesn't sink in until you have your own class. Then all the
yes.
questions begin, right?
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned an aquatics manager as a program with over 7,000 students that you've had. How does your like staff breakdown look like? Or your hierarchy, I guess.
Yeah. So we I would wish we had 7,000. You had mentioned 7,000. I wish we
Oh,
had 7,000. We have 1,000,
oh,
but
1,000.
still, that's
Sorry.
a lot of
Yeah,
coordination, right? So
definitely.
my role, and we run on EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System.
Hmm.
So I'm the visionary. So I'm looking at our business, trying to figure out where we need to grow, where we need to modify, where, our big relationships in the community. That's what I do. And then we have an integrator, which typically kind of people think of that as the person who is responsible for the day-to-day operations. She was originally our aquatics lead, but she moved into a different position. And now we have an aquatics lead, and now we're hiring an aquatic support. And so the difference between the two is our aquatics lead is in charge of all of aquatics, our water walkers, our specialty programs, our angelfish program. And then the aquatic support person that we're hiring will do a little bit more administrative things to help with our scheduling and making sure classes are being staffed appropriately. But then we also have different people in our accountability chart, or some people call it an org chart. But we have a sales lead, we have a sweet piece because we also do educational gymnastics. We have a marketing lead, we have a finance and HR lead. So we have different people in charge of different things so that it gets the necessary attention on those details.
Yeah, no, I like
Did
that.
that answer your question?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
did. No, I was
Okay.
just curious, like with such a big facility, you have early learning gymnastics. Can you tell me about
Yes.
how that came to be with your swim lesson program?
Yeah. So we had about 1,300 square feet that we used to let the children just play before and after their classes. And we also had a retail space that we sold like mommy gifts and kids gifts and stuff. And during COVID, I looked at that space and I just thought, wow, that's 1,300 square feet of non-revenue producing real estate. And
Mhm.
so I talked with a friend of mine who does the licensing for Sweet Peas, which is educational gymnastics, preschool gymnastics. And she looked at our space and she said, absolutely, you could run a program like that. And so I feel like gymnastics and swimming are such great, programs together that
Yeah,
strengthen the child in general, in, well-rounded child in so many different ways. So we opened it, it's going to be 3 years in December. And we
congratulations.
have, over 150 children signed up for those classes. And we see a lot of children doing gymnastics and swim, or swim and gym. We'd love to have more people in the educational gymnastics, and we're working on that with our marketing lead. But it has been a really good kind of symbiotic kind of relationship between gym and swim.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear about. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's fun.
So what are some of your tips or tricks you would give to any programs that are starting out brand new?
Yeah, so I think the tips and tricks, depending on if you're growing your program or if you're building a facility.
Hmm.
So if you're growing your program, I would say definitely know the capacity of what your program can have. Know how many kids can be in a class and how many children can be in the pool at the same time safely. Start with smart growth, and do it really well before you start growing. Stay 2 steps ahead. Consider the stations you may need to add or reduce. For example, we have rules for our summer league in our area. So we see a big drop in our stroke school in February because the league has a rule for a dark month where no lessons can be held if people plan to do a summer league. So we may switch out our stroke school and put adult lessons in there. Another tip would be making sure you take time out of a busy day to read and to get smarter and to learn more and to always ask yourself what's working and what needs attention. I would say talk to your families a lot, just open-ended questions. Hey, how's it going? Because they can tell you a lot, and to make sure that you train your staff over and over and over again. Just because you train them doesn't mean that training has to stop there. It should be continuous. They should constantly be learning. And then to build your own facility, you need to know your demographics, like how many children are in a 10-mile radius, for example, between the ages of 1 and 6 or 1 and 8, depending on what your focus is and what your niche is and who you're going to be going after.
Mhm.
This is always a funny one. Have great credit. Have great credit with a bank. Your credit score counts.
Mhm.
Build the facility for the program. For example, you don't want, I built it for swim lessons. It's
Mhm.
89 degrees, and people keep saying, oh, could we come swim laps? It's 89 degrees. Lap swimmers won't like it,
A little
so
hot.
that's two totally different programs. I know that there is a Build a Pool program or a conference that people can go to that with lots of really good information, from figuring out what kind of surface your pool is, to the depth, to making sure that you build your filtration system that's going to handle all the younger children possibly peeing. Gotta say, you
Yeah.
want to make sure your filtration system is a good one. Um, Ask others in the industry a lot of questions, and then ask more questions, and then just make sure your finances are in check and that you're not you're going, it's going to be a risk, but it's a calculated risk.
Definitely. So you built your own facility. What was kind of the
Yes.
process for that, since we were
What
talking
kind
about
of
it?
process is that?
Yeah, so how did you decide that you needed to build your facility, and how long did it take? What kind of was that like?
Yeah, great question. So I worked in the community renting water basically at an athletic club for 13 years, and it was really great. And I went from just a summer program and then started offering lessons more in the spring and later into the fall. But we were really restricted because of the use of that pool. And
Hmm.
also the temperature outside started getting cool. And so I looked at how much revenue I was bringing in and how much was going out to them for rental. And then I just started going to some conferences and realized I needed to build my own. And so I leveraged my daughter's college education and started looking at different places and working with banks to figure out a loan. And when I built in 2008, it was a very different time than it is now. I literally
Hmm.
started thinking about the space in January and February of 2008, started building in February, and we were open in June.
Oh
So
wow.
we went from, digging a hole in the facility and having a build out very, very fast. And that's sort of unheard of now because
Hmm.
building takes so long, and the process just takes much longer. And so now I would say it probably takes a good year and a half, maybe, depending on what the space is that you're going into. If I had to do it all over again and I had the money, I would have purchased my own building and then built the pool, because then I have two sources of income. If I want to step away and have somebody else completely run and own the program, I can have them rent from me to continue, generating income while knowing that the facility is being rented for a really great reason, for water safety and certainly the safety of our children, and something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. I have one more question for you. When
Sure.
we talked about advice, you mentioned for a growing program, constantly reading. Is it reading like reading up on your financials, or is there a certain book you would recommend to people?
If you look at my bookshelf right here, I belong to a book club with the United States Swim School Association, and it's a group of incredibly bright, smart business people who realize, the importance of what they do, and that's the whole water safety. But we
Hmm.
run our business smart, and so we're constantly reading. So let me look and see. I would say anything from Ryan Holiday would be a really great one. I would say any Patrick Lencioni books are really awesome. Atomic Habits is probably one of my favorite ones, and it just talks about how we take a 24-hour day and are we really doing the best with our 24 hours. Then the other one would probably be Who, Not How, and it's a great book about, for me, I tended to go to Costco all the time and I would make the Costco run. Well, that's not the best use of my time, right? I need to find a
Hmm.
who to go do that, not how do I do it? How do I get to Costco and spend an hour and a half there? Is there a better use of my time and finding out those people? But I would really encourage, and Swim America can do it too. We can establish a really great book club and have people read. And I just think it's lifelong learning, right? We have to stay up. All of our elite coaches in ASCA, they're constantly learning about stroke and constantly learning about body position and bubbles. By the time they get them, that's where our job is to teach them. And Swim America's curriculum is top notch, right? We have
Hmm.
stations 1 through 10.
Yeah.
We're going from bubbles to really helping define what a true swimmer is and what a safer swimmer is by having them complete all of those requirements in
Hmm.
station 10. But now this is how to run your business, how to all those kinds of things that are important to make sure you pay attention to running your business.
Definitely. So until we get a Swim America book club going,
Yeah,
how would people join the U.S. Swim School book club if they
association.
want to? Yeah.
So we have started to, you have to be a member of the United States Swim School Association to get into one of the book clubs. We have two now. One is established and cut off. And then the second one is emerging now because there was such an interest. And Abby, one of the really cool things about this book club, and the reason why I say it's closed is we tend to get on the call and talk about the book, but also talk about the application
Hmm.
to our swim schools. And sometimes that conversation branches. Like, for example, if we get on the call today, there are a few people in that book club that are dealing with the hurricanes, right?
Hmm.
So we don't care about who, not how right now. We're going to care about how can we support this person who is getting ready to endure another hit from a hurricane that is they're facing some devastation, possibly. We're praying that Milton weakens by the time it gets there.
Hmm.
But the conversations become quite intimate because we get to know each other so well. And so I would really encourage Bill, to maybe think about starting a book club where it's
Hmm.
not really program director stuff. It's really about how is it that we're learning as people and growing as human beings at that, and that lifelong learning continues and it doesn't stop just because we have a certification.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Well,
there's another challenge for you, Abby. You can start the book club.
hey, I'm happy to get any challenges I
Yeah,
can. That would be really
yeah,
cool. I think book clubs are so important besides
me too.
being in the swimming world.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember, back in the day when I graduated college, I was like, done, never picking up a textbook again, and now I won't say that I love reading, but I love learning,
Hmm.
whether it's a podcast or a webinar or a book, lifelong learning comes in so many different shapes and sizes. Or going to visit another program and see how they do it and
Definitely.
looking for those hidden gems.
Yeah. I've always found that program directors, if you're in the area and wanting to visit, they're always willing to let you come and like
Absolutely.
check out their program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to shout out before we end this?
Let me see. I wrote a few notes. I want to just make sure
Yeah.
that I got all of it. I think one of the questions you might have sent me is why Swim America?
Hmm.
And the reason why I chose Swim America and to get the license is because I believe in the four competitive strokes and teaching those to
Hmm.
become stronger swimmers, which helps us be
Yes.
safer in the water. And I love that Swim America has sort of in station 10 what the graduating standards are. Because if you could do a 300 and 100 IM and 100 free,
Hmm.
and you've come up through the program, you are truly a safer swimmer. Never ever safe,
Definitely.
but you are a safer swimmer. And there aren't a lot of programs out there that say, no, mommy, you need to keep your children in swim lessons until they can graduate from there or get on a swim team, continue polishing by coming to Swim America, but you need to have that endurance in order to be truly a safer swimmer.
Yes.
So that was the only other
Yeah.
thing I wanted to, just do a
No, I
shout
love
out.
that.
When I was teaching Red Cross, I just thought to myself, there's got to be something else out there.
Hmm.
And one of the local coaches came back from a World Clinic and they said, Rose, you need to check out Swim America. And I did. And I've just been, a big, huge raving fan of Swim America since then. So
Yeah. We think it's the best.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So, well, thank you so much for joining
You're
me.
welcome. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.